What's up, wrestling fans, trading card collectors? Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Cards. It's another interview, and we've got somebody new to the channel. Ben Kleypas. Ben is a diehard Garbage Pail Kids collector that also collects wrestling cards and some other things. In this interview, we talked to Ben about how he got into the hobby, his love for wrestling, and we compare and contrast the communities involved around Garbage Pail Kids and wrestling cards and how rabid of fan bases they are. Are there any crossover between the communities and the cards? And we talk about quite a bit more in this interview, so you're going to want to sit through this whole thing. A lot to learn, a lot of good stories that are being told. And after all, aren't the stories behind the cards kind of why we collect? But first, before we get into that interview, just a few ways that you can help show your support for my content. The first thing you can do, and it's the easiest, it's free, hit that subscribe button, give me a like. That's a thumbs up in case you didn't know. There's a little thumbs up logo on there. Just click it. And of course, tell somebody about the channel. Do you know someone that collects, whether it's through social media, whether it's in person, family member, friend, etc.? If you think somebody would enjoy what I'm doing on this channel, what I'm doing on the podcast, please tell them about the content I'm producing. Speaking of podcasts, the Worlds Collide podcast I'm a part of, myself, Tony Vella from WrestlingTradingCards.com. We get together to talk all things wrestling cards. Make sure to check out my other podcast, my personal podcast, Wrestling with Cards. A lot of the audio there you're not going to find on this channel. A lot of the videos you find on here you're not going to hear about in audio form there. So you're going to want to check that out. Again, both of those podcasts are available on all popular podcast platforms. No matter where you're listening to podcasts, you can find us. Worlds Collide, Wrestling with Cards. Search them, subscribe. Please leave us a review if you like what you're hearing. And again, tell a friend about the show. If you would like to help show your support monetarily, links below to the Wrestling with Cards Patreon community. We're for as little as $1 a month. That's at $1. Can you even buy anything for $1 nowadays? Even the dollar store and Dollar Tree raise their prices. But you can help show your support, like I said, for as little as $1 all the way up. There's higher tiers if you want to get more involved. You get different benefits and different things. It's just a way for you to show your support about what I'm putting out there for free into the interwebs. There's also links to my eBay store if you'd like to buy something. I said earlier I don't think you could buy anything for $1. I have a whole bunch of 99-cent cards on there, so that also helps the show. Links below also if you want to follow me on social platforms, whatever you're on, I'm probably on there. Links below again. And of course, links to buy me a coffee. I've got to stay caffeinated to get through these videos. So anything you could give is appreciated. Again, everything I've talked about, links below in the show notes. But hey, if you don't want to do any of that stuff, that's okay. Keep watching this video. Speaking of, it's time. I would say Vader time, but it's Ben time. Let's get into the interview with Ben Kleypas. Ben, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yep, happy to have you on. You know, I always talk about bringing some, different types of collectors, people that can span different aspects of the hobby. So anybody that's unfamiliar with you, go ahead and just give yourself a brief introduction.
Okay. Well, my name is Ben Tom, and I started a YouTube channel just last year, mainly about Garbage Pail Kids. But I cover all kinds of collecting stuff like wrestling, see what else is there, like comic books, just all the stuff a good nerd loves.
Sure.
Just trying to showcase my journey to fulfilling my collection, because I didn't really get that serious about it until last year, honestly. And so that's really all it is, just sharing my love of everything and making lots of friends along the way. And it's been so much fun.
So you said you really got serious into it last year. How did you actually get into collecting, whether that's the hobby that we call it with trading cards, or maybe it was comics or toys or something else? Where did you start? And just kind of talk about where you started to where you are now.
Oh, man. Yeah, if I had to look all the way back, probably my first love was comic books. Just from the earliest age I can remember. I think the first thing I ever learned to read was an X-Men comic.
Nice.
And I was obsessed with drawing. So I would just draw superheroes all day. And I didn't really have access to comics because I lived in a little small town. And we didn't have the most money growing up. So
now, what years are we talking?
Oh man, early 90s.
Really? So the early, even with the we'll call it the junk wax era of comics as well, because most of that 90s stuff is not worth a lot and not really sought after. Like that. Yeah. That's really interesting that even in the 90s where you're at, you couldn't find comics.
Yeah, it was really difficult for me, but a lot of that was just because, I didn't have the transportation, I didn't have the funds. And so I had to do what I could. I would go check out every pawn shop, every thrift store, just anywhere I had a slight inkling there might be comics. And when I was very little, like only in first grade, we ended up having a collector store just down the road from my house called Collector's World. It's no longer there, unfortunately. It's in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I would walk there every morning and wait for the guy to open up the shop, and then just walk around and look at all of his comics that he had and his toys. He was an old judge, I think, and half the store is just his collection, where he was kind of showing it off, but everything else was for sale. And I would scour the change drawers every morning, look in my dad's pockets, find all the quarters I could, and go down there every day and raid the box of quarter comics. And that was really all I had. I couldn't get new comics, so everything I had was old. And but I loved it. Spider-Man, Spawn was my favorite.
That was huge.
Yeah, I love Spawn, and I knew I shouldn't have been reading them when I was little, but I think that's why I liked them. And the thing with trading cards, I'd say from an early age, I had lots of Marvel trading cards.
Yeah, for sure.
I've just always been obsessed with, little miniatures and things you can hold in your hand and ogle, and just always loved the art on them. And it went from comics to toys to, to trading cards when I could. But once I became a teenager, I started playing guitar, and pretty much all my time went to that. And I put all the collecting and the toys on the back burner. And, I'd still grab things every now and again when I could, but it really wasn't until, I'd say last year, because, I'm skipping a whole lot of years right there.
Sure.
But but basically more or less, I graduated high school. I ended up getting my high school sweetheart pregnant, and we had a child, and that didn't work out, but I got a beautiful daughter from it. And so I didn't really have the time or the money to go hunting for stuff, and just didn't think about it. And I actually quit watching wrestling for the longest time.
Yeah.
We'll get to the wrestling, but it wasn't until 2009, almost a 5-year break, I got back into the wrestling, started watching it obsessively. And that's when I noticed Walmart had trading cards. They had wrestling trading cards. And I shouldn't have been spending the money, but I'm very impulsive. And so I just couldn't help myself. I grabbed every blaster I saw of WWE 2009 and Slam Attacks, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see that much in the States. I know it's big overseas.
Correct.
But I was just happy with those, trying to build the complete set. And I couldn't get to a hobby store, so I didn't even know about these expensive boxes with autographs. And I was just happy to get cards of my favorite wrestlers.
Right.
And, so I just sat on all that stuff. And it wasn't really until last year, thanks to Garbage Pail Kids, really, that I discovered, I pulled that rock up and discovered just how crazy the collecting scene is and how much money is getting spent. Like, if you want a real collection, you have to be serious about it. And I was nowhere near that. But basically, you go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to know, what actually, you said you basically picked it up last year. I think that's pretty common, whether it was last year, whether it was 2015. I think it's a pretty common story where people got out of wrestling or got out of the hobby, collecting anything for, either a huge chunk of time, or maybe they're like me and they would just pick up stuff here and there and their interest would change. But what was kind of the catalyst to get you back into collecting cards, regardless of what type of card it was? What was that kind of motivation that got you back into collecting last year?
Oh, man. It was just definitely, it was the Garbage Pail Kids, because when I was really little, that was one of the first series that I ever saw that I became obsessed with, and I wanted to have all of them. But at the time, I really only got one series complete, but to me, that was all I needed. Then last year, I started playing the Garbage Pail Kid mobile game because a friend suggested it. And while I'm doing that, I hop on Facebook to join some Garbage Pail Kid groups, find some friends that play it. Turns out there's all these card groups on there with people showing off their collections, selling off their collections. And I didn't even know how many Garbage Pail Kids there were. They kept making them for years and years. And here we are 30 years later, 35 years later, actually. And a lot of these cards are worth thousands of dollars. And it's incredible. And it just blows my mind because as a kid, I collected so many things that I just did not take proper care of.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah.
And, looking back on the gold mine I had, but basically, I'd say it was, thanks to the pandemic, everyone was sitting at home. Sure. The president was sending us extra money, which was kind of helpful.
Yeah.
And, it was to boost the economy. So what I did was I boosted the economy by buying some trading cards.
Right.
And I told my wife, I said, you don't understand. I loved these cards so much when I was little and I couldn't afford to have them. And now's my chance. So may I please buy some? And, she was very understanding. She just asked me not to go too crazy. And so the first thing I do is I join a whole bunch of breaks and I spend way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also discovered what a break was.
Yeah.
And I tend to stay away from those now, but
probably a smart move besides the occasional, they're fun. I've joined breaks. They're fun, but you don't want to do them too much.
No, it took me a good minute to realize that it was gambling.
Yeah.
And, if you don't have any of the cards that are in the set, then why not? It's a good way to get some cards. But basically, it was my desire to finally finish my Garbage Pail Kids set. I wanted all of them, series 1 through 15 from the 80s. And so I started talking to people, buying what I could, driving my wife nuts. I told her, I promise I'm going to sell everything that I don't hold on to. And I'm about one of the most socially awkward guys you can meet. Social encounters freak me out. The thought of going and meeting new people and trying to sell them things actually freaked me out. So I basically had to man up and learn how to be a salesman. And it took me a few months, but I've gotten pretty good at it, where all the stuff I don't need, I can find someone else that wants it. And basically, I'm veering all over the place, but basically while I was also looking for these Garbage Pail Kids, a brand new set had just come out called Food Fight.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was going, So I was going to Walmart to try and find it. And while I was there, I would see that all the other cards were getting bought up. There were men there waiting to buy the cards. All of this whole all this was new to me. The fact that people were waiting on them to buy them all up and then turn around and flip them, the sports cards and stuff.
Right.
And it just seems so appealing to me and so fun and exciting. It's basically like being a big kid and trading, but you're trading with money.
Right.
And, so I just could not get enough of it. And once I started selling things, my wife was way more on board with all of this.
That makes sense. Yeah,
absolutely. And I started making the YouTube videos last summer just because on these Garbage Pail Kid pages, there'd be folks that would sit there and they'd film themselves opening their cards. And, that was all new to me too. So I decided to do it too, just to share it with everyone. And I really enjoyed it. So that's kind of what gave me the bug. And, I found a little editing program, started whipping stuff together and just posting it. And, along the way, the Garbage Pail Kids led to sports cards because my wife is huge into football.
Cool.
And, those cards bring in a pretty penny.
Yes.
So, I hate to say it, but sometimes to fund my need for Garbage Pail Kids, I have to find the sports cards and turn them over.
Right.
I
do that every single day.
Yeah. We're just trying to support our habit.
Right. That's it. I want to touch on the content too, because that's a really important thing, but I want to circle back to Garbage Pail Kids. So specifically, that seems to be your niche. What was the draw for you for Garbage Pail Kids specifically?
Oh man, just how scary and messed up they look.
It's a good answer.
Absolutely. I've always been obsessed with horror. When I was a baby, I was sitting in my high chair and my older sister thought it'd be funny to put Child's Play on.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So from an early age, actually, I've been traumatized by dolls, but something about them, it's like facing your fears. Right. So the very first time I ever saw a Garbage Pail Kids sticker was on my friend's closet. And I couldn't understand what that was. It was so messed up, but it was a kid's sticker. How could they allow that? Right. I had to have more of them. And, just anything that makes your parents turn their nose up is always a good thing. And so I just had to have them. And I've just always loved collecting things. Anything that tells you collect all of them, I will do it.
Well, that's getting harder to do. Speaking of that, most people are probably familiar in the wrestling card space, autographs, parallels, numbered cards. If somebody was looking to get into Garbage Pail Kids that's watching this, what kind of cards are out there? If maybe they've seen them, maybe they've wanted to dabble, but they don't want like complete sets. Maybe they just want to buy one card that they really connect with. What kind of stuff is out there for people coming into Garbage Pail Kids?
That's a really good question. Well, as a matter of fact, parallels weren't even really a thing for Garbage Pail Kids until the 2000s, because they went away in the 80s. They came back for a short while. And that was when they started adding parallels, which were just simply different colored borders and, maybe some 3D cards, nothing too fancy. And I want to say it was about either 2004 or 5 when they finally decided to start adding sketch cards, which are probably one of the biggest draws in current Garbage Pail Kids, which is they have a whole bevy of official artists and also a bunch of great artists that they just hire on the side to do these sketches. And, basically you're trying to open a pack with one of these one-of-a-kind sketches by an artist.
Sure.
I've pulled one sketch, I believe, like one sketch out of a box, and it was a blaster from Target, and it was fantastic. And, those can be pretty hard to get. So something a little easier to get into would be, trying to see if I have any just right here offhand, but like Garbage Pail Kid, they make chrome cards too.
Yeah, those are my personal favorite. Outside of like the very first series, all of the different chrome stuff is my favorite.
Yeah, like I'll show you right here. This is a chrome version of Series 1.
Nice.
Yeah, so basically what they're just redoing all the old cards in a chrome format. And, the base ones are nice. And they have the refractors, they have the numbered parallels. And with those, people are really crazy for the short number parallels, like the 1 out of 5 reds.
Right.
There's a 1 of 1 gold. And boy, another thing that opened my mind was just how serious some of these collectors are, because I actually know the gentleman that has the 1 of 1. Actually, I know both of them. I know both gentlemen that have both 1 of 1s of my 2 favorite Garbage Pail Kids. So at least that takes the relief out that I don't have to go hunting for them.
That's true. That's a really good crossover. Like, it sounds very familiar with what Topps has been doing with WWE. So that's a really easy transition for wrestling fans if they wanted to get into Garbage Pail Kids. What is the collector base like? Is it mostly set collectors? Are there player collectors? Like you said, it was your favorite Garbage Pail Kid, so maybe you collect all the specific cards and stickers of that specific, character. What's the collector base like within that community?
It is all over the place, but I'd say it is mostly like obsessive, have to have everything. Usually these folks, like the real serious ones, they're trying to have entire collections, including full boxes of the unopened cards. So full sets. And then honestly, everything you said, I'd say these Garbage Pail Kid fans are all of that combined into one.
Okay.
Where, you find your bad apples every now and again, but I'd say for the most part, these GPK collectors are some of the most purest, nerdiest, in a great way, collectors, where they're just really about, the art and collecting and helping each other out. And a lot of people go hunting for their favorite characters. What they call it a rainbow, where they're trying to get, I know there's rainbows and everything, but yeah, they're trying to get their rainbow of their favorite character. And let's see, just offhand, it's only a few of them, but here's a quick rainbow of one of my favorites, Hippie Skippy.
Man, that black border with that refractor looks amazing.
Yeah, the black is really nice on these. I have a black, a purple, a green, and then this is just kind of like a prism fractor.
I think Topps calls those atomics.
Yeah, you're correct. They're atomics. And, the thing is, Topps does own Garbage Pail Kids. I don't think I can get it on there. So, yeah, I discovered it really is. It's all the same thing, more or less. It just, they even did the Sapphire.
Yes.
I don't believe WWE has any Sapphire yet.
Unfortunately, they don't, and they probably won't since Topps doesn't have the license for them anymore. They'll be going to Panini, which I'm more excited for because I like a lot of the Panini products. Speaking of wrestling, let's kind of transition to that. How did you get into wrestling, and then where did that come into wrestling cards?
Okay, well, it's a real good question too. Wrestling, I've always known what it was. I think from the earliest age, I saw Hulk Hogan, in the movies like Suburban Commando.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Man, that was one of my favorite movies, even though it's so terrible.
So bad it's good.
Exactly. And Hulk Hogan was just larger than life. And, we didn't have cable unless I went to my grandma's house. So I didn't have access to wrestling really. And it wasn't until 96 or 97, whenever we moved, and we were able to get cable, and that was right at the time when NWO was becoming a thing.
Sure.
And I had a friend in school who would wear it literally every single day. He had a different NWO shirt. I don't think he ever wore the same one. Like, I don't know how he did it. But, so I think the first thing I saw that I thought was cool was NWO, the Wolfpack. But I wasn't watching it yet. And it wasn't until Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'd have to say, if someone put a gun to my head and said, who's your favorite wrestler? It is Stone Cold Steve Austin. The first moment I saw that son of a gun, he takes no crap.
Right.
And he was everything I wanted to be as a meek little kid that got bullied. I wanted to be Stone Cold so bad. And I remember, I think it was the lead up to Survivor Series, Stone Cold versus the Corporation, right around the time when The Rock went corporate. And I think that was, when Mankind won the title. So right at that time, the Attitude Era, and me and my little cousin, we would get together every Monday and we'd watch that first hour of WCW.
Yep.
Just waiting for Raw to come on. And then we'd switch over to Raw. And once I got to high school, I met some other friends who were really into it. So we'd get together every week and watch it. We'd wrestle in our backyards. We'd wrestle in PE class when we shouldn't have been.
Right.
And we would cause near riots because the coach would allow us to wrestle. So everyone else in the class thought that gave them the free right to beat on us. So we'd basically be fending off the entire classroom because they wanted to wrestle with us.
Right.
And, man, but it was wild. And so I was obsessed with WWE, and my friends loved WCW. So we would just sit there and rag on each other all day long. But I'd say about 2004 or so, it was pretty much, I guess, when Stone Cold left. And they were pushing Edge and Christian. And a lot of these guys that, I was used to seeing at the beginning of the show, now they were the main eventers. And I had other stuff going on too, so I just kind of grew out of it. And it wasn't until 2009 I was, settling in with with my daughter and her mother at the time. We were living together, and I just flipped on the television, and it was, I want to say, the lead up to Hell in a Cell 2009. It was like CM Punk and Undertaker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. Undertaker's still on TV. All right.
Right.
So I started watching it, and just like that, I was hooked. I loved CM Punk. Let's see, who else was on there at that time? R Truth. R Truth is my boy.
Who's still going today.
That's right. R Truth is my all-time favorite up there. He's in my top 5. He's in my fave 5, dog.
Nice. So is this around I think you said earlier, was it more recently that you discovered wrestling cards when you saw the blasters on the shelves?
No, that was back in 2009. That was
okay. So right around the same time then.
Yeah, exactly. Because I fell back in love with wrestling. I had to have everything wrestling, and I left him out. My little brother Luke, he's one of the biggest fans of wrestling still to this day, and he's disabled. He has cerebral palsy, and so he can't get out of the house too often. So he loves just watching wrestling and playing the games and stuff, and that's something we've always had together.
Cool.
And so that that's another reason why it means a lot to me. And the whole time I was out of it, he was into it, still talking to me about it. And then it was wonderful because when I got back into it, it actually kind of helped us connect. And we still do that every month. We get together for the pay-per-view and watch it.
Cool.
And but yeah, 2009. I saw these blasters and I had to have them all. So this was my idea of a big collection back in the day. I had to have the entire set, and I was able to complete it. There's Festus.
Yep, he definitely looks different now.
Oh goodness, he sure does. He's a good brother now. And I thought these cards were so neat, and I loved reading the back because the backs are written by JR. And it's so funny because all I could get was retail. So out of all the boxes I bought, I did not pull anything worth a lick. So at the time, I didn't even think they existed,
Gotcha.
Autographs and stuff like that. The greatest thing I pulled was a numbered card out of 2000. And so I held on to those cards for about 10 years thinking they were the greatest thing. And then last year when I got serious about the cards, sorry, my cat's messing with the camera.
Oh, that's all good.
When I got serious about the cards, I decided to hop on eBay and check the prices. Hi, Missy. This is Missy. She wants to join for a minute. And that was part of the eye-opening experience, was taking all of my cards that I'd been collecting and hopping on eBay and seeing that everything I had was more or less just a base card.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's still worth a lot sentimental value to me.
Sure, absolutely.
But that's when I discovered, this is a whole thing on itself. There's people that spend money on the stock market, and then there's people that spend all their money on trading cards.
Right.
And I'd rather spend my money on trading cards.
Yeah. So what was kind of let me backtrack a little bit. How are you collecting wrestling cards currently? Are you still set collector, or now that you've kind of, the world's kind of opened up to you of what types of cards are out there, have you changed the way you collect wrestling cards, or what's your just approach for wrestling cards currently?
Let's see. For the wrestling cards, I've joined a bunch of the Facebook groups. That's pretty much been my best bet with getting my hands on cards, the rare ones, is talking to other folks online. And because I'm still in a little small town, we got a Walmart and we get cards, but there's a group of guys that usually go in there and they hit it pretty good.
Yeah, same here.
But they know me as the GPK and the wrestling guy. So actually I can go in there, and lately I've been having a lot of luck with the Heritage.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
And that was how I got my hands on that Heritage, and I pulled that Roman Reigns big dog card.
Yep, which is how we connected, because I have no idea how you got the word? Did somebody tell you, or that I was looking for it, or did you just see it posted somewhere?
No, exactly. All I did was make a post on Facebook in a wrestling group showing off the card, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry, buddy, but he commented. He said, "Zhan Morning of Wrestling with Cards is looking for that. You should get in touch with him." And I said, I'm sorry, I haven't heard of him. He said, "You haven't? You need to subscribe."
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah, you need to find that guy and send him a check. But and I said, well, heck, that's really neat. And I couldn't pass up that opportunity because that just sounds fun to me, making new friends and making new connections. And, I still would like to complete all the sets I get my hands on. I love the look of these new Heritage cards.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have a full base set. I'd at least like to complete the Allen and Ginter. But I would say, considering that I really don't have the extra funds to be spending on all of this stuff, I do kind of have to pick and choose to keep the family happy.
Sure.
And so when I can, I do try and find some autographs of the wrestlers that I really like. And but nothing really, I think to me, nothing beats just getting your hands on a sealed box and ripping into it.
So
regardless of what's in there.
You're still mainly doing base sets though, and then just kind of picking up other stuff as you see fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
that's really, it's interesting that the parallels between GPK and wrestling, because there's so many people out there in the wrestling card space that's the way they collect. They want the master sets, the complete sets, maybe the inserts, the subsets, and then if they can get the parallels, that's fine. But it's an interesting parallel between the two. What other kind of parallels do you think that exist? Not from the cards. We'll talk about that in just a moment because I want to talk about a set that I have. But what are some parallels as far as like the collecting worlds that you've seen between wrestling cards and GPK?
Well, I definitely can see just how obsessive they both are, and in a good way. And just how dedicated they are to completing their sets, and just how much pride a lot of these folks take in their sets, which is wonderful.
Right.
Showing off their favorite card, or maybe having an autograph of not everyone's favorite wrestler, but the guy meant a lot to him growing up. So you learn a lot about these folks. And I'd say definitely just the need to either have it all to complete the sets, or maybe have be the first one to get your hands on it.
Right.
Or just get like the rarest of the rare, because something that I could not believe was the crossover between GPK and WWE, literally. Yes. Where in one of the latest boxes of the high-end expensive cards, WWE Transcendent, I believe was the name.
It is. Yes.
Yeah, they had a chance at pulling a one-of-a-kind Garbage Pail Kid wrestling piece of art. And all of these Garbage Pail Kid artists, they draw wrestlers all day long, and I never even knew it. And I just think it's fantastic.
Yep. The first time I ever kind of put the two together was, and forgive me, I do not know the exact year on the set. Late, like, I want to say like 2017, 18 range is, and maybe you can correct me on this. When they did the crossover, Topps did the crossover where they did. Are you familiar with like Topps Now or the living set where it's online? It's like a print to order. They will print however many complete sets are ordered. And they did I think it's a 9 or 10 card set of WWE Garbage Pail Kids. And they were print to order. There ended up only being a little over 1,000 of them made as complete sets.
Wow.
So they're, 1,000 seems like a lot to a lot of people, but when you kind of look at it from the outsider's perspective, as many people and as many collectors as there are in the world, that's not a lot. So have you seen these cards? And when you saw, like when I saw them, I had to have them. Not only because I thought they were rare, and they, in my opinion, at the time, they were cheap. They're a little bit more expensive now, and they're a little bit harder to find now. But I was like, I've got to own this because this is like the ultimate mashup between two different things that I really like, and I just think that these need a spot in my collection. So have you seen that set? What do you think of that?
Oh, yes, I have seen it. I've seen it pop up more than a few times in the Facebook groups, and I'm just astonished at what it's worth now. I
Right.
want to say it easily goes for $100 to $200 for the
Yeah.
complete set. And before they did that full set, just real quick, and I want to say from 2004 or 5, it was all new Series 6. They had two cards spoofing Hulk Hogan.
Right.
It was a Garbage Pail Kid named Hacked Hogan and Russell Mania.
Yes, I've actually been on the lookout for those and haven't been able to pick them up yet. So.
Ooh, well, that one card on the low end now is worth $40.
Mm-hmm.
And but this WWE set, like you said, see, I didn't know it was one of those Tops Now print to however many ordered. So
right, I think it was. I want to say it was available for a week. Like, so they just took however many orders there were over the week. But the hobby then compared to what it is now is totally different. So.
Oh yeah, and they still do the Tops Now. They still do the Garbage Pail Kid online order sets, and they're still quite popular. And no, that wrestling set, every time I see it pop up, I see a whole bunch of people scrambling over each other to try and get their hands on it. And eventually I'll get my hands on one too. But part of it last year was, I wanted to complete my sets, and I just about got there. I didn't do Series 1 on the Garbage Pail Kids because those are $1,000. I'm not worried about that right now. But basically all the goals I wanted to hit, I was able to hit. And that brought a lot of relief off my shoulders to where now, I can look at something, I can enjoy it, and I can know I don't need to have it because there's other things we can get our hands on that are special to us that no one else has.
Right.
And like with the sketches, a lot of these Garbage Pail Kid fans, they'll commission these artists to draw them a one-of-a-kind sketch card, and then no one else is going to have that.
Correct.
And so that's really what I've been getting into, is like the kind of the one-of-a-kind aspect of that. And it's really, really awesome watching these artists draw wrestling figures too.
Yeah.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Topps artist. I hope I don't mess his last name up. Kelly Greeter. He draws a lot of awesome stuff, but he did this sketch of the three faces of Foley.
Yeah.
And he was trying to sell it on Facebook, and no one was biting, which I just could not believe. So
can you turn the card around so we can see the back of it?
Yeah,
that's cool.
It'll be backwards, but the art of Kelly Greeter.
And then he signed it.
Yep.
That's so cool. That's a great card.
I got his John Hancock and that. And the best part was he slipped in a bunch of little stickers. And who's that?
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And see, that's actually a spoof of Simi Collin, who's half human, half monster. He's a Garbage Pail Kid. And then here's Lemmy as Disgusting Justin.
That's cool.
I love this one.
Yeah.
So Kelly Greeter did a great job on those. So it's just so awesome whenever your loves mesh like that. It's like ice cream with hot fudge.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Yeah, nothing good. Like, it's two things that are great, and now they're better.
Let's talk a little bit about both of the communities. From gathering this conversation here and knowing what the wrestling card space is like, one thing that has gotten a lot of people to stay with wrestling cards is the community, whether that's Facebook groups. Twitter is huge for wrestling cards right now. Maybe it's Discord groups or Patreon groups with exclusive content. Like, there's just all different kinds of community-based things out there. What have you seen that's also a crossover between the two communities? Not from a collecting standpoint, but from like content or, trading. I know that's a huge thing I want to talk to you about in a minute. But like, what are some kind of crossovers between the two communities? Because again, just from talking here, they sound very similar.
Man, one thing, like, let's see, one real good crossover I can think of is I actually met someone recently on Facebook, a gentleman named Franco Hernandez. He has a YouTube channel, and he came up with the most interesting idea where he goes to all these local wrestling shows in the area down here in South Texas. And after the shows, he'll talk to the wrestlers and he'll open packs of cards with them.
That's awesome.
And interview them. And, I'll have to figure out what his name is, his YouTube channel. But he reached out on the local group saying he needed Garbage Pail Kid cards because a wrestler he was going to interview wanted to open some.
That's cool.
So, yeah. So I couldn't believe that. So I reached out to him and I hooked him up with a whole bunch of packs. And he said they had a great time opening them all. And so that was just really cool to me. And, aside from that, it's just, it's been really neat getting online and meeting all these different folks.
For sure.
And just the crossover is crazy. Like, man, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I was gonna say you can edit all this stuff, right?
I could, but I'll probably leave it in. Why not?
Yeah,
we're live, pal.
Yeah. Oh heck. But
yeah, I just think it's interesting that it seems like, okay, let's talk about trading, because that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about with your collection. It's like the core of trading cards to me. When I was a kid and I wanted certain cards, you take them to school and you trade them and you try to work out deals. Maybe you use the Beckett magazine to kind of say, okay, this is worth this. This is worth this. I'll give you 5 of these for this one because that's the value. That really is kind of the core of where I learned negotiating and trading and stuff like that. Is there a lot of trading within the Garbage Pail Kid communities, or is it mainly selling?
Oh man, there is so much trading. Awesome. So much trading. And I will admit it's taken me, I've been dipping my toes into the trading aspect of it because as much as I did it as a kid with my cousin, we were always doing really unfair trades with each other, trying to get one over on. And I
think there are people in the hobby still trying to do that to this day. So
yeah, and I don't want to be one of those kind of people. So it's hard for me to gauge the value or what other people may perceive as the value of something sometimes. So sometimes it's easier for me to just outright, offer money for it. But no, trading it is a wonderful tool. And when it's done properly, I think it's better than buying and selling because, there's trust between the two people.
Yep.
And
building relationships for future deals or networking, prime example is the card that I got from you, that Roman Reigns short print. Like if I hadn't made a connection with other people who made a connection with this to Facebook, then to you, then I probably would not have. I could have got that card if I found it on eBay, but to find somebody that was willing to sell it at a good price, and we were able to connect, and then the next thing you know, here we are talking on this video. So
yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah,
it's just really crazy. And to go back to that crossover thing, like in my hunt to find Garbage Pail Kids, I've reached out to so many people. And a lot of times, all you have to do is just, if you're having a hard time finding wrestling cards or just anything you're into, go to a sports card shop and just talk about the things you're into. There's a good chance a customer in there or someone is going to have whatever it is you're looking for sitting in their closet that they don't even want anymore.
Yeah.
And just me talking about Garbage Pail Kids in a sports card shop is what ended up getting me one of the biggest scores last summer, where I worked a deal out with a gentleman. And I ended up trading them a whole bunch of football cards and basketball cards for just boxes upon boxes of Garbage Pail Kid cards.
So was this a shop owner or somebody that was in the shop?
It was actually a customer. It was like a friend of the shop owner.
Gotcha.
And as far as I can tell, this shop, I don't think it's around anymore. But the customer, he actually does own his own shop located in Kingsville, Texas. Okay. And, shout out to Ruben at the Sports Box. He, him and I, we've done a lot of good deals. And he's actually sitting on a complete set of original Series 1 Garbage Pail Kids right now. He's been dangling in my face like a carrot. And a few months back at this first card shop, I was able to actually get my hands on a Sasha Banks autograph card. It was authenticated and graded by Beckett.
Cool.
And man, it was just so awesome. But near the end of the year, just had a whole bunch of bills come up and stuff, and decided to downsize. And if it was Bailey, I would have kept it. But I decided to see if I could trade Sasha off. And the funniest part was it ended up going back to Ruben, because apparently it was originally his card.
Interesting.
Yeah, he had sold it to this card shop. I purchased it, and then I ended up working a trade out with them, and now it's back in his hands.
That's cool. What a story! Like the stories behind the cards. I talk about that on my videos and my podcast a lot. That's what I like to hear. The journey and the stories. You had mentioned we've already talked about trading. You had mentioned you had some bills come up. This is something that I'm like very, very passionate about. I'll just say that. Within the wrestling card space, I'm always telling people, you got to let stuff go. You can't hang on to everything. Prioritize what you want. Keep what you want, but also be flexible on what you're able to move and what you can get into. How do you approach your collection as far as like what you are willing to let go? How have you built your collection to this point? Have you just been spending crazy amounts of money? Have you been buying stuff and then finding that you don't connect with it as much, so you have to sell it off to, pick up other stuff? How has the financial aspect of your collecting been for you since you've got back in?
Like, it was definitely a learning experience because, as much as I hate to admit it, I just was not being realistic with my spending, where my wife would constantly remind me that we had bills coming up and we have groceries to buy, and that I shouldn't be going and buying a $200 box of cards right now. Right. And, but I would tell her, oh, I'm going to sell it. And so basically, I feel personally like I just spent so much money that I think it may have been maybe partly out of guilt that near the end of the year, when bills started to kind of pile up and money started to get a little tight, I felt like it was my duty to take all of these extra things that I had amassed over the year and, see if I could make some money off of them and, get the bills paid. And, I've always had the approach where material possessions are wonderful, but most of the time they can be replaced. And, I think a lot of that is just from losing a lot of items over the years and having to learn that.
Gotcha.
So as much as I love all my cards, if it was all gone tomorrow and all I had left was, maybe some of my sketch cards, I'd be happy. Because
has that changed? So that was late last year. So going into 2022, has that changed the way that you're approaching the hobby as far as your buying and selling, your mindset? Or are you maybe still doing the same thing and just kind of cutting back? Like, what's your approach as we go into this new year?
Well, I'm being a lot more careful. And like I said, it was all a learning experience where I was learning, what's valuable to me, what's worth my money and my time. And as much as I hate to admit it, since there can be money to be made in this, a lot of the times, whether I can make any money or not off of it goes into my decision. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, I have to do that currently, just, when money is tight. And, so I have to almost look at it like a business decision.
Absolutely.
And so I've been very careful lately. And, I'm very thankful to actually have been doing well as far as the reselling the cards goes. Mm-hmm. Because basically everything I bought last summer that I didn't want to keep, I was able to move into someone else's hands, including getting something mailed off to Australia last week.
Wow, that's a feat, mailing it to there. Yeah.
Yeah, it cost over $100.
Oh my gosh.
I know, but that gentleman's going to be really happy with his brand new card collection.
Speaking of that, one thing I've learned, and I'd like to get your take on this, letting material possessions go, one thing I think of, your sketch cards, obviously, those are really rare. Some one of a kind. Those are going to be the last thing you ever get rid of. But even like some of, like maybe base rookie cards, maybe just cool looking cards, but they're plentiful. I kind of like to look at these cards, certain ones, and the fact that I look on eBay and I say, how many of these are there out there? Is there a chance, regardless of price, is there a chance I could buy back into this at another time? If that's the case, I like to let things go if need be, if I need to put it in a trade, if I need to sell it to then pay for another item, or like you said, if you need to sell it because you have bills to pay. And then I'll look at something and say, okay, well, I'm not seeing these pop up on eBay on a regular basis. That's something maybe I should keep. That's kind of how I've approached that. Does that make sense to you? Is that kind of what you're doing as far as like deciding what you keep and what you sell, or is everything free game to sell?
Those are some very good points, and you kind of nailed it on the head there, where part of the stuff I was letting go of, I would think about, can I get my hands on this again at a reasonable price somewhere down the line?
Reasonable price too, that's important.
Yeah, because it's if I'm selling something and making a lot of money, that's fantastic. But if it's only going to go up and up, and I'm never going to be able to get my hands on it again, then usually I'll make my peace with it.
Sure.
But I absolutely do think of that, where I have had a few items where I held on to them because of how rare they were, and I knew that if I let go of it, I'd be shooting myself in the foot.
Yep.
But a lot of cards, like you said, with the rookie cards and stuff, if you can get your hands on them again, then what harm does it do to make some space? Because that's been another thing that's kind of helped motivate me to clear out stuff. Is my wife and we'd like to move into a bigger home, in the next year or so.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept reminding me that we're not going to have any money to move into a new house if I'm filling up our old one with trading cards.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So I think, I'll do the responsible thing and wait until I have a bigger space to put all this stuff. But those are some really good points. And as far as the wrestling cards go, it really blew my mind how, aside from some choice autographs, a lot of them really they don't cost too much compared to football cards and basketball cards.
Right.
And,
well, even Garbage Pail Kids, like stuff in high grade, honestly, still pretty affordable compared to baseball, basketball, football. And now that's changing. At the time of recording, we've seen some like record sales of Marvel cards. I honestly think that's going to start transitioning into GPK and wrestling. We've already seen an explosion of UFC. All of these kind of ancillary things are going to start getting bigger just, by default, because people are getting sick of the same old sports cards, or they're not going up. They're not good investments, which that's not really what me and you were here for, but it's something we have to keep in mind as we're operating. I want to transition into content. So talk about why you started your YouTube channel and what it is and how it's going for you.
Okay. Well, my YouTube channel is called Ben Tom Loves GPK, and I've considered changing the name a couple times, but I feel like that's probably going to be the way it stays for a while, unless Garbage Pail Kids themselves get involved. Because even though I'd like to cover a realm of different collectors' goodies on my channel, Garbage Pail Kids is the reason that I'm even on YouTube. I want to say the reason I even reached out to start talking to people and sharing my journey with everyone. Because to me, it was like becoming 7 years old again and reclaiming my childhood.
Right.
And, when I was in high school, I had a friend who had a camcorder, and, I've always been real creative. I'd rather draw and write and think of anything except for my schoolwork. So,
of course.
So we would make little home videos, and, we just had so much fun doing that. One of my biggest regrets is not taking all those videos and putting them on a DVD before technology changed. Because we could have been some of the first people on YouTube, I bet.
Right.
But so that was something I enjoyed doing back in the day. And whenever I saw these people on Facebook filming themselves opening cards, just everyone sharing their love, just seeing how excited the viewers would get whenever this person would pull a good card.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, well, it's kind of like hanging out with your friend and watching him open some cards.
It's exactly what it is.
And so to me, I said, I got to get in on that because, I've always been a real creative person, whether it's writing music or, writing stories or making videos. I've just always been about creating. It's one of my outlets. And, I'm still learning a lot because I used to be real good on computers and stuff. And I feel like I kind of took a break from all that, and technology advanced so much that it's almost kind of daunting to learn about it.
Well, so, on the flip side, though, it's easier too, because like when I started my channel, I took my phone and I hit record. Like that's all it took, and as if you go back 10 years, you couldn't really do that. Like the technology wasn't, and podcasting, like there's podcast apps. The one that I like to put mine on the hosting side is Anchor. They have an app where you can actually just record it on your phone. You hit record, you record your podcast. Now, of course, that's not the fanciest, nicest way to do it. Just like, there's probably better ways to do what we're doing right now. But the fact that the free technology is out there for us to start and then get better at, learn, and build a community around it is fantastic, in my opinion. Like that's you said creativity. That's why I started the channel. I want to help people learn about wrestling cards and how to manage a collection and different types of trading cards and collectibles. But it's also a great creative outlet for me that I've talked about. I've kind of dabbled with other things and nothing's ever worked out, but man, something with this has stuck. So I'm hoping your YouTube channel sticks around. Do you have any kind of new plans for it or anything you're going to look to do in the future with it?
Like, the thing with it is I have a lot of videos I've been shooting and I've been working on them and editing them. And basically just over the summer, personal life kind of, I needed a break from everything. And, unfortunately my last video on YouTube was last May, and I'm still updating my Instagram and my Facebook, and I started a Twitter, and, I'm definitely looking to get more serious about it, because that was my intention in the first place, was to put out at least semi-weekly content just to share with people, right? As a hobby. I have a job, so I can't spend all my time doing this, unfortunately. It sucks that I took so long off, because now I feel like my next video has to be a real big kind of welcome back thing. But
as long as you're starting, as long as you're doing it, just keep it going and do it as you can. I think one thing I think would be cool, and I just now thought of this, have you considered getting on some other community members within GPK community to kind of do what we're doing right now? I think it would be a really good learning experience for a lot of us that, like, I like GPK and I dabble, but I would, sometimes it would, what I like to tell people is, like, if there's good content out there with people within the hobby, it doesn't have to be something that you are into per se. It doesn't have to be something that you have to start collecting, but there's so many good nuggets of information that these collectors are talking about for free on podcasts and on videos like this, that it can be very helpful. So I think maybe if you had some guests on doing something like this with GPK, talking about, people's collections, or maybe some of the artists or something, I think that would be a really cool idea.
Yeah, that is a really good idea. And I have had ideas about doing that. It's just a matter of getting it done. But
right.
I do have a few friends I've made who they also have YouTube channels, and they mess with the Garbage Pail Kids. And shout out to my friend Robert Stokes, the GPK bounty hunter. He just started his channel. Mr. Kimball, he's got a great Garbage Pail Kid channel, and he's been very helpful to Robert and I. And also Lee GPK, he's over in the UK. And, those folks, it's harder for them to get their hands on these cards.
Yeah, it's hard for them to get it. Wrestling is the same way. Like, I don't know what the deal is. Like, they just don't carry it over there. And,
you know, you said it earlier, shipping to Australia, like they're dealing with the shipping costs too. So sorry, I had to get that out there as we were talking about it.
No, absolutely. That's absolutely true. So many folks overseas say, you know, they can't get their hands on it and they're willing to pay extra just so they can have it.
Right.
And, you know, it's great to be able to help those kind of people out the most, because it's like you're saving the day.
Right. So again, links to your YouTube channel, we'll put that in the show notes along with your social media. But as we're closing, what kind of parting words do you have for anybody watching this video that's collecting GPK or wrestling? Like, you have any parting words for the community?
Okay, well, I'd say the most important thing, kind of like you stated on, was just enjoy collecting, but be responsible.
Great point.
Don't go broke trying to finish your collection. Cards aren't going anywhere. And, you know, so just, don't hurt yourself trying to finish your set, and enjoy it most of all. Remember why you enjoy these cards, because of how they made you feel, whether as a kid or as a grown-up. But, you know, that's what it's all about, is about the joy you seek from it, and especially the friends you make.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something, you know, we've talked about during our show today. I didn't expect to kind of make all these connections that I made when I started. You know, I've always been into cards here and there, collectibles, whatever. But it was like when I started jumping on social media and doing the videos and doing the podcasts, all of a sudden I made all these networks of, you know, we'll call them acquaintances or maybe friends. Like some of the people, you know, you talk to on a daily basis, and then some people, they're just kind of acquaintances. But regardless of what they are, it's the fact that you've built this network, which kind of came out of nowhere. So I agree with you. Appreciate your time today. Let everybody know all the platforms they can find you on, usernames, and anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here.
All right. Well, you can find me at Ben Tom Loves GPK, all one word, on pretty much everything: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I might hop on Snapchat and TikTok, but those are for the kids. So I don't mess with those too much. But definitely check me out on Facebook and Instagram for all my updates. And, you know, I will have some new YouTube videos up very soon with some special guests.
Awesome. Hopefully this video has motivated you to keep going and start it up, whether it's a 1-minute video or whether you're doing an hour-long interview, kind of like what we've done today. Looking forward to more of your content. Again, links to everything that Ben is doing in the show notes. We'll have the social media and links to the channel, everything there. Make sure to subscribe to his channel and give him a follow. Thank you for your time, and thank you guys for watching.
Thanks to Ben for coming on the show today. What an excellent conversation, and what amazing stories that were told. I love hearing stories, and Ben told a great story today from start to current on how he started and working his way through the hobby. It's also refreshing to hear people talk about their willingness to let go of things. When something in life comes along, or a bigger card or something in your interest changes, it's awesome to hear guys like Ben. They're like, okay, well, I've got to sell this stuff, and, you know, I'll get it again later, or I've lost interest in this stuff, so I'm going to get rid of it. I enjoyed my time with it, but it's time to move to something else. I think a lot of people in the hobby really need to learn that mindset. Be sure to give Ben a follow on Instagram and Twitter, and make sure to check out his YouTube page. He's doing a lot of cool videos. Links to all that stuff is in the show notes. And while you're checking out all the links to Ben's stuff, don't forget to check out the links to all the ways you can help show your support to my content. Links to Patreon, links to my social feeds. And again, if you enjoyed this video today, hit the subscribe button and give me a like. Tell somebody about the channel. But until next time, click the videos on the screen for more great wrestling card content. We'll see you there.